So I come over to your house, let's call it around 11.
Yeah, it was around 11.
Around 11-ish, and you were drunk.
I was, yes. Let's just say yes. Yeah, I'd been drinking. I was there with a friend of mine, Chris. We were hanging out.
The other half of Midnight Brown.
Yeah, we were hanging out watching baseball because it was like a rain-delayed game, which was awesome because we had all this time to kill before hooking up with you late night to go pick up Guitar Hero at midnight.
So the plan was we were going to drive up to Santa Rosa, which was the nearest.
Yes, that was on the list.
On the Best Buy website.
Key to mention, if you went to bestbuy.com, it said, yes, the Santa Rosa store will be open at midnight.
And you had even checked it like hours earlier that same evening to make sure that it was still on the list.
Yes.
You may be wondering why we were putting such importance on this particular aspect of the story, but we head up to the Best Buy, and we're there a little bit before midnight, and there's another dude there. But only another dude.
Yeah, one guy who
one dude
was into metal. You could tell
he was into metal, and he was using his Xbox 360 headset as a hands-free set for his cell phone.
How do you do that?
Just plug it in.
Oh, you're talking about the wired one.
The wired one. Yeah.
Okay.
No, that would be way crazier.
Yeah.
If he was using the wireless one. And then I guess a little bit after midnight, some employees came out and said, "Hey, are you waiting here for like Guitar Hero or something?"
I was like, "Hey, why are you guys here?"
Like, for Guitar Hero. And long story short, they had not been told anything about there being a midnight event,
or didn't want to acknowledge it.
No, I mean, no, they definitely. I believe them that these guys had no idea that this was supposed to happen.
Yeah, because like selling the 3 copies that they would have sold to the 3 of us standing there, and then the 4th dude who walked up, and we said, "Yeah, they're not doing it." Would not have been
taken
a
much
hassle.
time.
But it was, they at a certain point they shut down all of their register systems or whatever, and
that part I don't necessarily believe.
I believe
part
that
of me
part.
thinks that they could have turned it back on if they really wanted to, but it would have been arduous.
It would have been a pain in the ass.
Counted out the draw, as they say. I've already counted
Well, I mean,
out.
if like certain level of management was not there, they may not have been authorized.
They may not have
to boot that stuff back up.
So I think they were only there that late because they were doing like stock.
All this really tells me is that there is at a higher level, they are not getting their shit together at the Best Buy.
Yeah.
That there is
miscommunication somewhere.
Yeah, there is bad communication, or they're just inept at some higher level where that information did not get passed along, even though it was on their website for like weeks.
Well, BestBuy.com is a separate entity from the brick and mortar stores, so I'm sure there's plenty of room for miscommunication between the two.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen.
I'm not saying it excuses. I'm not saying it excuses it at all.
That is potentially
that's probably what happened.
That's potentially a source of that. But I'd imagine Activision, I'm sure, put down a decent amount of money to have Best Buys open so that people could go buy their game at midnight. And I hate to say it, but this kind of colored my experience. It wasn't like, oh, awesome, I went and got Guitar Hero and I went home and played it all night. It was like, no. I went and tried to buy it there, and then we drove by another store where Jeff got to ask some kids creepy questions.
Oh, man. Yeah, so I had been drinking.
I think we may have mentioned that.
Okay, so we went to the Petaluma GameStop after that. Like everyone's on their phones calling as many different places as possible. The Walmart in our area closes, so that was not an option. And no one was answering at this GameStop. But then I would all these iPhones, looking up 1,800 stores, 1,800 GameStops are supposed to be open selling Guitar Hero. So they're probably there. Let's go. Pull up there. There's 2 kids. 13, 14?
I would say 14 or 15.
And I roll up and say, "Hey, you guys looking to buy Guitar Hero?" out of the window of this car full of dudes, which I imagine probably.
I think it was just the tone of your hey. It was like, "Hey, you guys looking to buy Guitar Hero? Why don't you hop in? We know where to get it."
Yeah, exactly. Like that should have been the next words. And they claimed that they got called by someone at GameStop to say, "Yeah, come at midnight." That place was closed.
Like the security shutters, the lockdown.
Yeah, it wasn't like there was someone
break
in there,
into that store.
That they had just finished selling it and they had closed up. It was like no one came to that store.
Is this around midnight at this point, or is this
like 12:20?
12:20, I'd say, give or take. So yeah, not a great retail experience off the bat with the Guitar Hero World Tour. We ended up staying out rather late. There's a whole other story that's not at all appropriate for this podcast. So we'll skip that.
We ended up going to a bar and closed down a bar. I ran into a girl that I know and her roommate, and then we ended up going back to their house. And then the one girl did elbow drops on an Elvis record for a while, and I drank out of a coconut and tried on sunglasses. Fun was had by all. And then my whole Sunday was a mess.
Yeah, that was us out until about 4, something like that.
Yeah.
Take.
But you
I'm going to
were
go on record and say that was way more fun than I would have had playing Guitar Hero.
Potentially. I was just bummed out because I had structured my whole weekend around the idea of going out late Saturday night. And then
Also, you were driving.
Also, I was you got to just be
You were
drunk.
the sober driver.
You got to be drunk and wheeling around the county.
well, so then you got to get up at a decent hour and not be hungover and go buy the game, right?
Well, that also meant I was up at 9:45 after going to sleep at 4, which that I was not happy about.
Called me at like 10:30, said, "Hey, you want to come get this?" I'm like, where am I?
It was I was already on the road. You were not in a position to do anything just yet.
Yeah, like the night before, Chris threw up in the Petaluma River.
That was pretty cool.
It was,
While a cop drove by on the other side of the river.
fun was had by.
Fun was had. So I eventually, after going to several different retailers, I'm just going to stop bothering trying to buy games at places that only sell games. Because those motherfuckers never have games when you want games.
Yep.
Never. All I want, seriously, it's the worst. Like, why do we tolerate it?
Like,
I mean, was it like the stupid? Did you pre-order? No, then no.
It was
scenario?
always that.
Yeah.
Like both the in town, the Game Crazy, and the GameStop. It was if I wanted the big bundle, I had to have pre-ordered it. I'm like, what? What's the point of you? Why do you get to exist if you can't even pull off selling new fucking releases?
Especially one that's like this dramatic. It's like this is millions of copies of Guitar Hero have been sold. It is one of the biggest franchises in the world.
Kentucky Fried fucking chicken.
How do you not stock enough of those? And it's because, it's coming with all these peripherals. It is a big-ass box, and they can't store it. You saw those stories last week about retailers bitching that they don't have the shelf space, that they don't have the inventory space to store these gigantic boxes. It's like, well, that's what games are now, apparently. So you should probably try to figure that out. Rent a warehouse across town and truck some in.
No sympathy from me.
Yeah.
Like, we can't figure out how to keep selling the one product that we sell.
Well, then I'll go to another store that doesn't specialize in games but somehow manages to do this way better.
That's been happening before the box got big anyway.
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
Yeah.
But using falling back on that as an excuse, it's terrible. Like, I actually was kind of relieved when I went to the GameStop and they said, no, only if you have pre-order. I'm like, thank God I don't have to spend any of my money at this awful place. I was afraid that was going to happen.
Did you go to Best Buy?
But whew, problem averted. I tried. Where did I go from there? I tried the
Target.
The Target. They didn't no sign of any Guitar Hero was to be seen there. I didn't even talk to anyone.
Shop.
I didn't even talk to anyone. I just walked around and said, "Oh, they've got Aerosmith. I don't want that again. I didn't want that the first time." And then finally ended up going to the Walmart, and they had it. And I was glad that I didn't have to go back to the Best Buy because I was still a little peeved. I was a little ticked.
I like Best Buy.
I was a little ticked off.
Games.
I generally do too as well, but I don't. After being burned the night before with their ineptitude, I didn't want to end up driving all the way back there and buying it from them. So I got it a few miles closer, and then the fun really started. Because then I had Guitar Hero World Tour.
Oh, you played it.
Then I actually played it. That's right. I spent the rest of Sunday and yesterday playing the holy hot hell out of that game.